We're going to start this off with a recording, a video that I haven't even seen. Chris Kopak, who you saw before, he was our cameraman, went up and we interviewed Debbie Arnold. Debbie is one of the members of the San Luis Obispo County Board of Supervisors. She wanted to be here today, but she made the correct choice. She had to choose between this event or her family. Her family, she's a rancher, you'll see that on the film. She's a ranch gal. She's running a very active, productive ranch. And her family is in Las Vegas, and they're in a rodeo. They're contestants in a rodeo, okay? So she made the right choice. She's there with her family, but she wanted to speak to us, and so Chris went with me, and we went to her place, and we got this recording of Debbie Arnold. So let's see how this works out.
Ed, it's nice to be with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to address your audience today.
Well, thanks for being here. I really appreciate your taking the time, my dears. So, the question is, who are you, and how did you get to where you are?
Very good. So my name is Debbie Arnold, and I've been a resident of the San Luis Obispo County for over 40 years now, married into a century-old ranching family here in the North County, and just a lot of experience that I think a lot of your listeners can relate to. Married my husband 40 years ago, and he's made a living, as did his father and his grandfather and great-grandfather before him right here, and they work very hard. We're a small family farm and ranch, as you've witnessed. We do our work ourselves, and it's been an interesting 40 years as we've watched families like ours who've made a living off of the land here become more and more regulated, and making it more difficult as any small business to be able to comply mostly with the paperwork that's required now. We're using the same management practices for the most part, great stewards of the land. My children and grandchildren are here too. No one cares about this land more than we do, but there's a lot of monitoring regulation required now to be in the farming and ranching business, so a lot more time consuming. But I 3 years ago was elected to the County Board of Supervisors, so I think that's what we decided we'd talk about today, is becoming part of the government. And you know, I've always thought that a representative government requires representation from most of the people, or there will be voices that aren't heard. And who are those voices? Usually they're the people that are so busy working they don't have time to participate. It became very apparent to me that people like myself, I was a mother, small business owner. My husband, we were in business for ourselves. We both worked really long hours, really hard. 2 children in college, and just realizing, you know what? It's people like us that need to have our voices at least considered in our own county local government.
What's the most important thing, if you could narrow it to say 1 or 2 things, to be successful in getting into City Hall, so to speak?
Right. For folks that are interested in running for elected office, I think that you start by creating or forming a base, what we call a base of people that are supportive of you, that agree with you, that are willing to, you know, kind of help you kind of get those tentacles out there and start reaching others. We all have those groups that you could consider your base. They're your friends, they're your family. They're the people that you socialize with at your church, or maybe you belong to particular groups or industry groups. And the chambers and the farm bureaus and those kinds of organizations. Many people belong to service organizations and work with other people. So that's kind of the beginning. Discussing, identifying issues that are important, that you know are important to your town, your county, your area, and discussing it with others. And when you find, yeah, people feel like their voice isn't being heard, Is it a big group of people or a small group? Because if it's a big group, then clearly that voice does need to be heard, and someone needs to carry a message into City Hall, so to speak, and make sure that those folks are represented. And when you do identify that group of people or that message that you want to carry, then you just, the work has just begun, because you have to define the message, and people need to know why they need you in there representing them. What is that message? And if it's important to the majority of the people, they'll be interested in you carrying the message for them, and hopefully interested enough to get involved in your campaign. But you have to reach out to them, and there are a lot of folks out there then that you need to communicate with.
I have a chicken and egg question for you.
Sure.
Which is the proper or the most effective way to get this started? For a candidate to declare and then go seek organizational support, or for organizations to decide they need a candidate to represent their point of view and they seek a candidate?
You know, I think it's the candidate identifying the need. Someone needs to be elected that brings this message to the table. That is, and I have the time or the energy that it takes to do that. And then reaching out to the organizations and the folks that you know and say, I've been thinking, we know, and I hear a lot of you, worried about the direction that local government's going. I have the time and energy right now, and I believe that I would, be able to be a good representative for us all. Are you with me? And you start that way, and you identify people that are willing to endorse you. It's really important too, because no matter how hard you work, you're not going to reach out to everyone or it's difficult in person. And a lot of people, they're working, they're busy. They might just look to their neighbor, that's someone else, someone they respect, and say, hey, have you been keeping up on these different candidate choices that we have? And so word of mouth by other people that have been active in the community, that's important. Those endorsements go a long way, because they tell others what you're all about, and kind of goes from there.
Interesting point you made about having some experience in the process, so that you know what you're doing and not wasting a lot of time. You made a comment to me the other day about the importance of losing. I presume those two topics are tied together. Would you comment on that?
Yeah, I will. The first time I ran for office, I really had the same message. It was really none of my motivation changed. In other words, I was carrying the same message, but I wasn't experienced in how I was expressing myself. So sometimes that takes a little practice too. But the very first key ingredient, I think, is the passion. The passion that what you have to say is important, and will everyone please listen, because I have something really important to say, and I want you all to know about this when you talk about being a teacher. So with that passion, I went out and ran the first time, and really worked hard trying to reach out and explain to people, that our county has passed thousands of pages of regulation in the last few years, and I don't think this is the answer, or it's improving our lives. In fact, I think that it's creating all these difficulties. So working hard to get that message, to talk to people, to let them know why I thought that we needed to change, all those things, and I did not prevail. So I think what I was talking to you about was it didn't diminish my passion. I wasn't sure I'd ever have an opportunity to run again or have that, same campaign experience, but I did, and the second time I was successful. So here I am as a county supervisor now, but the value of the experience of running, I was never sorry, after it was over, that I had stepped out and done that. It was a fabulous experience, and it's very thought-provoking experience when you run for office. because you realize, of course, we have a lot of diversity in this county, as we should. And so considering other people's opinions and trying to fold it in and come up with the best solutions for the most of the people. I always say people form their opinions from their life's experience. When you have the passion and you think your message is important, it just carries you. Win or lose, it's still a fabulous experience. And you engage in conversations on issues with people, all kinds of people that agree with you and people that don't. But the important thing is you learn about other people's views and you start to take all that into consideration, and you realize that people come to their conclusions and opinions from their own life's experience, and that it's very different, and it's often very different from yours. But again, our electeds, when faced with decisions, important decisions, they just have to know that they're trying to make the decision that's the best for the most of the people, and to move us forward in a good way.
Hopefully we have a lot of people watching this video who are thinking to themselves, I wonder if I should take on this task. What's your advice to them?
My advice is, again, when we think back to the history of our country and the fabulous governmental experiment that this has been, the United States of America, and we know, a lot of us have read about the background of the founding fathers, and again, they were just people, and they thought, you know what, this is an opportunity, and I have something to share that I think will make it better, or at least keep it going down the right track. And in the history of our country, we know that some people gave their lives, or certainly did risk their lives. For us, we don't have to risk our lives, and we don't have to leave our families for a year at a time. It is a very honorable, fulfilling thing to do, to be able to represent your peers in local government. And in today's world, the sacrifice is minimal compared to what others have given. So I think that people that are interested absolutely should pursue it. It's a fabulous experience, and I almost feel like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Campaigning is hard work, and these are important decisions. So they weigh heavy when you're trying to be sure you're making the right decision. But all of that considered, it's still an amazing experience, and you become part of the history of your community, and it's really a fabulous thing to do. I would encourage anybody that thinks they have the time and the energy and are passionate about the way the community moves forward to give it a try.
Thank you, Debbie. I really appreciate that. I would think the theme of your presentation is fire in the belly.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I just want to tell you how much I appreciate it, and you certainly are a great role model.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, I'm nothing more than what so many other people. My experience that I bring to the table is just being passionate about my community. But again, my family works hard. All of us do. I'm a mom. I know what it's like to run a house and run a small business, and I just think that those are the kinds of things that need to be considered when decisions are made.
Well,
So
I'm glad you're there. Thank you.
Okay.